Okay, fly. This ain't no little fish.
Hey, Mike here at Northwest School of Fly Fishing, the old fish hobo. Welcome back to the channel. Recently, I just got off the river a couple days ago. It was a Spring Creek River, and we're talking about, this is probably mid-December, December 13th, right in there. It's fall, winter. It's the end of fall, beginning of winter. I guess we've been in winter now for a couple weeks. Our temperatures are probably mid-25s, 25 degree low, and high would be 29 degrees. And that's the conditions that I'm fishing in. It's almost like a fog out, an inversion. And I'm on this Spring Creek stream, and it's incredible to think about this, but there's still a blue-winged olive hatch going on. And we kind of have this transition going on right now where we have the end of the blue-winged olive curve is right here. It goes up and it's down, and we're kind of right in there. And then we have the midge coming up, and that transition is right there. And we've been really, really lucky this year in the sense that we've had a mild fall and starting out to have a really mild early winter. And what that's done is kept the water temperatures fairly high. We're talking in the 40 degrees plus. And what that does is it extends the blue-winged olive hatch 2 to 3 weeks longer than it normally would have ended. So we get like a couple extra weeks of the blue-winged olive hatch until it just gets really, really cold and things start slowing a little bit, and then we're right into the midges. I was fishing this river, and it was interesting. I got there, and I was the only one there. It was very, very quiet. And I walked down to the river, and the river itself is just this beautiful crystal clear, like looking into a crystal rock, crystal clear. Lots of boulders and pockets. And there wasn't a whole lot going on in the river. It was pretty quiet on the surface. And I brought both a nymph rod and a dry fly rod down there, and I thought I'd do a little nymphing, and I did, and like 15 minutes later the fish were at the surface. And at first I was a little taken back because I couldn't see any blue-winged olives anywhere. I couldn't see them floating on the water, and I couldn't see them in the air. So I thought maybe there were some midges going on, and just by happenstance, I had two midges on my fly rod. One was a suspended midge, and the other was a little midge pupa, size 22. And I already had that geared up, so I just flipped it out there. And right through these feeding fish, it didn't take but 10 minutes to figure out that was wrong. At that point, I was still a little on the sizing up this hatch, and I put my seine over my net, and I put that in the water. And there was 2 or 3 minutes holding it, and I could just see this little blue-winged olive floating by on the water. Game on. And I went back to shore, got my rod tied on a little blue-winged olive, and about my third cast I was in. And that lasted from about 11 o'clock in the morning to about 2:30 in the afternoon, which we went right back to nymph fishing. And that was the end of our day. But those magical hours, 11:30 to 2:30, it was just game on. There were fish all over the water. And we couldn't keep track of the fish that we were catching. And we were catching them in different sizes. I think the biggest one was probably a good 16 inches maybe, and the smallest was probably about, I don't know, probably about 7 inches, which is a sign of a really healthy spring. However, when we look at the anatomy of a blue-winged olive hatch in the fall, we have to look at it as the brood of the spring blue-winged olives, and it's a much smaller mayfly. And typically, you can buy these mayflies or tie them in size 20s, and that's normally what we see on the rivers, a size 20. However, these were pretty small, so I would say you can either tie them in size 20 or size 22. I would say that these were probably right around size 21, so you can probably catch them on either side, either size. But they wanted it. They wanted that blue-winged olive. They wanted it on the surface. So we were using your traditional Catskill style winged with the hackle over and around the wings, and that's just what they wanted. It had to be kept high and dry, so I had to use a lot of floating. I was using the liquid. I would put the liquid on through the whole fly, and then on the water I would bring it up and put some dry shake on it, keeping that fly high. The minute my fly got wet, these fish wanted nothing of it. I was using a 6X leader. And probably a good 10 feet to 11 feet long. I want that extra tippet to give me that extra longer drift through there. For some, that's a really long leader, but the store-bought leaders come in right at that 9-foot length. I'd say 10 feet is about right. And that's really the whole components to that. And it's just being there when that happens. And we're getting that extra 2 to 3 weeks of the blue-winged olive. I've seen it on our local rivers and other rivers I fish, and I'm out every week on the rivers. And I'll keep working that blue-winged olive till there's no more on the river. So keep that in mind here in the early winter, certainly in southwest Idaho, but it doesn't really matter what state you're in. In the west here, you're going to have a blue-winged olive hatch, and keep in mind that transition. Please, if you like these type of videos I'm doing, I try to do topical videos at the time of the year that I'm there, and we have a lot of it, pretty close to 100 videos now, and I'd recommend that you subscribe. There's a plethora of learning videos that we have that will be very helpful for you. In the meantime, I hope to see you on the river.